name's Kelly Dombroski and I'm currently at the University of Canterbury. I did my undergraduate degree in environmental studies, a Bachelor in Arts in Environmental Studies at Massey University, and then I did a Master's in Philosophy in Development Studies, and then I did a PhD in Geography starting at the Australian National University, transitioning to Western Sydney University when my supervisor moved universities. I went with her. Well, my first job was as a lecturer in geography at Macquarie University in Sydney, and I hadn't finished my PhD. So I had 2 children during my PhD, and my third child, I got pregnant with my third child while I was working at Macquarie University, and I actually applied for my job at University of Canterbury while I was about this pregnant. But some people perceive it as being a barrier. So you really have to perform yourself as being super competent in order to try and convince people that you can do the job. So on top of that barrier is the barrier of inadequate maternity leave. So as a PhD student, my first baby, I got no maternity leave, so I had to keep studying. And then with my second, I was entitled to 3 months maternity leave. But employers or funders sometimes would judge the fact that I was a mother of a young baby as being that I wasn't capable of being able to do what I said I would do. You know, I keep saying I'd rather take on a mother PhD student than anyone else because they might only have 4 hours on campus, but they get it all done in 4 hours and they're not mucking around on Facebook or anything. I think what I found really difficult was that most of my research was in China, and when I only had 1 child, I would just take her with me. Once we got up to 3 children, it's too expensive to do that, and also they're in school and stuff. So I found it was really big transition for me to actually try and find a research topic I could do in New Zealand, despite having all my research experience in China. It was really good coming back to New Zealand from Australia and seeing the progress that's been made around trying to be a bicultural society. I think what could be done more for funding in terms of diversity is mentoring around those funding strategies. You know, I find a lot of my male colleagues have very good mentors in research and innovation, or they know a lot of older men, you know, who have had a lot of grants, and they get that kind of mentoring around the beers after work or something like that. Whereas I think, especially for those of us with very young children, you don't get that. I mean, we're in there for the 4 hours and we do the work and then we go home. I think in New Zealand we think we're very fair, but often we're not. And I think we need to make a bit more of an effort to make sure that we have a diverse range of people coming into research. It's really difficult for PhD students, especially coming from overseas. I've got 9 PhD students, and 8 of them are from overseas. And you know, when they look at who got the latest grants or who got the latest Rutherford or MB grants, they don't see people that look like them getting grants. It's not so much about advice for those people, but what we can do to support younger people coming through. And I think that's partly trying to, again, mentor and come alongside people, include them on your publications or co-write with them. And, you know, when you're putting in a grant application, to think about who else can you include. You often need to include some professor in order to get it noticed, but who else can you bring along behind you to include in that? None of this kind of care work is part of your job description, right? So you don't have to do it officially, and people don't have the right to ask you for it officially. But there's no way that we can change the face of science without having this kind of you know, mentoring relationships and collectives of people who are helping each other.